And on to the details now. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called for zero tolerance towards terrorism and urged the international community to avoid any form of accommodation or indifference to terrorist activities.
A persistent threat to development is that perennial disruptor of peace, terrorism. It is imperative that the world display neither tolerance nor accommodation to terrorist activities. Given the extensive networking among terrorists, those who act against them on any front actually render a larger service to the international community as a whole.
While speaking at the G20 Foreign Ministers Meeting in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar referred to other ongoing conflicts like Ukraine and Gaza. Jaishankar said that such geopolitical tensions directly impact global energy, food and fertilizer security, especially in the global south.
Our focus today is on the correlation between international peace and global development. In recent times, that is well established as both deteriorated in parallel. The costs, especially to the global south, in terms of energy, food and fertilizer security, were starkly demonstrated by ongoing conflicts, particularly in Ukraine and Gaza. Apart from jeopardizing supplies and logistics, access and costs themselves became pressure points on nations. Double standards are clearly in evidence.
He further said that the global peace and development have seen parallel deterioration in recent times.
Peace can certainly enable development, but by threatening development, we cannot facilitate peace. Making energy and other essentials more uncertain in an economically fragile situation helps no one. Therefore, the way out is to move the needle towards dialogue and diplomacy, not in the opposite direction towards further complications.
And for more, we have Akshay Dongre joining us from New Delhi. Well, Akshay, Dr. Jaishankar called for zero tolerance towards terrorism, aligning with India's broader diplomatic strategy, especially amidst its growing leadership role in the global south and forums like the G20. Your take?
Well, the take is quite clearly Pakshi, and Dr. Jaishankar has once again clearly, talked about terrorism, especially at a time when Donald Trump is meeting with the leadership of Pakistan. That is one of the biggest harborer and enabler of terrorism, not only in the region but the entire world. So that message also went quite clear. That irrespective of the kind of ties that Pakistan is making because of its geopolitical advantages, being in a disturbed region and in fact being the enabler of the disturbance in the South Asian region as well as in the West Asian region. One thing has become very clear, that the world's largest democracy is just not going to take any kind of terrorist activities lightly, and it's going to be vocal about them. It's going to unite the world, and even at the highest forums of the world, it's going to expose the hypocrisy of the not only the terrorist organizations and the threats that they have towards modern civilization and society, but also the enablers and harborers of terrorism. That message has gone quite clearly to the top leadership of the US. That is also trying to restore ties with India in the recent days. So one message is very clear, that any kind of, and we have said it in the recent action against terrorism, that any kind of terror activities will be considered an act of war, because they are in a way an act of war against civilization, against peace. The world has to unite against this menace that is absolutely unnecessary at any given stage of time, for the development of humanity. It's just a blackmail tactic. It's a tactic, made by weak nations. It's a tactic made by cowardly organizations. That is a message that has been given at the UNGA by the Foreign Minister of India.
All right. Also, Akshay, Dr. Jaishankar clearly spoke about the double standards and linked conflicts like Ukraine and Gaza to global peace, energy and food security. How do you see India balancing its traditional non-aligned stance with increasing global advocacy on such issues on the global platform?
Well, certainly one thing is quite clear is, once there is food security, the first countries to get hit are the countries that are not adequately, equipped to grow their own, sort of a requirement of grains and other food stocks. It can happen for multiple reasons. It can happen because of the land not being fertile enough in certain countries, or the climate not being fertile, climate not be suitable enough for certain grains. So they usually rely on others. These are smaller countries. These are underdeveloped or developing countries, mostly in Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and other parts of the world. So they are the countries that get hit first. Any kind of blockade to supply lines, these countries get their share of supplies diverted to the other richer countries because they are willing to pay more. So obviously, conflict does impact the global south, especially the countries at the bottom of the development and the economical chart. We have to be vocal for them as well, because those are the nations that need the help of countries and of the global south, especially at the international forums. That is a consistent stand that India has been making, and we have been talking about diplomacy and dialogue to also ensure that the world starts to developing in a positive direction, rather than going into development of only weapons and things that can blow up. That has been the consistent stand, and once again has been reiterated at the UN by the Foreign Minister. Back to you, Dipakshi.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for all those details.